What we are going to do is hopefully finish part 3 or finish the whole section on defiling the temple of God today. This will be part 3. I've got a lot of material to cover because I want to back up and review some things because it's been a while since we have been studying this together. And so in a basic review of what we've been studying in the last few sessions, we have seen from 1 John 3:2 that God has told us, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health." That is God's desire for each one of us. And as we have been studying the subject of health, we find that health is not a matter of chance, but is in reality a matter of choice. The choices we make tend more than any other one thing to govern how our health will be. We saw in Daniel chapter 1 and verse 8 that when Daniel and his companions were carried away into captivity in Babylon, that they wanted to feed them all of the things of the king's table, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat or with the wine which he drank. Daniel knew there were certain things that you eat or drink that defile the temple of God, which is our bodies. And so Daniel made a decision, a determined choice not to eat or drink certain things because they would defile him. And so as we studied together, we saw that the commandments are very important to every aspect of our life, and one that is often misunderstood or limited to acts of violence is the one that says, "Thou shalt not kill." Anything that we do that shortens life is a violation of this commandment. And so we have seen that people are killing. They are committing suicide on the installment plan as slowly they put things into their bodies that is shortening their life. And we've studied several of these things. I found this picture the other day that I thought was kind of cute. But when we look at this and we see how really stupid this looks, we've got to understand that it doesn't look any better when we do it. To have this thing sticking out of our mouths. There was a little cartoon I came across of some children building a snowman with their father, and the father's getting ready to put the corncob pipe in Frosty's mouth when the children say, "No, Daddy, let's make him a non-smoker, he'll last longer." Even though we don't understand some of these concepts the way we should, we can understand that anything we put into our bodies that shorten our life is not good for us. I was reading about a young boy by the name of Sean. And Sean Martin, this is a picture of him. He was very athletic. He was the anchor on the 400-meter relay. He had won 28 medals. Quite a nice-looking young man, but he was a user of smokeless tobacco. We haven't touched much on snuff and some of these other type of smokeless tobaccos, but this young man, this is a picture of him shortly before he died at age 19 of mouth cancer from using that tobacco. So any of these tobaccos in any form will shorten our lives. Cigarettes, we have seen, will kill us. But yet people smoke. Why do they choose to smoke? Yes, some are addicted, but others choose to do it because they haven't been smoking it long enough to be addicted. And we've already seen that even those who are addicted can receive the power to overcome the addiction. So why smoke? Well, you know, one of those talk show guys at night has these 10 top things, Jay Leno or one of them, and I got a top 10 thing that I found on why I smoke. First of all, it's such a clean, refined habit. I love to cough and spit. Second, It makes my breath so pleasing to everyone. Kissing me is like licking an ashtray. Number 3, it sets such good example for children and friends to follow. Oftentimes we give no concern to the example that we are setting for young people who know we smoke, just like this song that the children sang today. Number 4, it makes my teeth and fingers so pretty and yellow. It makes my clothes, car, and house smell so clean and fresh. Number 5, it proves I have self-control and am not a slave to anything. Number 6, I want to see how much poison my body can take in before I die. Number 7, it's fun to throw my cigarettes out the window and start forest fires and kill animals. Number 8, it means I'm tough and rugged and able to ride a horse in a cow pasture at sunset. By the way, the Marlboro man died of lung cancer, friends. Number 9, it tells everyone I'm wild and ready for a good time. I like to abuse my body, so why don't you do it too? And number 10, it's my way of showing people how secure I feel, that I'm not nervous, that I like myself, that I like to take care of myself because others are counting on me. Why I smoke. We've seen that cigarettes are something that we should leave alone, but we have many people who refuse to do that. We looked at alcohol and what the Bible had to say about alcohol, and alcohol and tobacco both have the same instructions from the Word of God, and that is to abstain from them or leave them alone. Do not touch these things. But yet, as we studied a little further, we saw that there are some socially acceptable drugs among Seventh-day Adventists, and those are things such as Coca-Cola and coffee and all of these caffeine drinks. We've seen that caffeine is itself not just a drug, but also a poison, and we should not be taking part in any of these things, for as the little thing in your bulletin says today, the quotation under Message to the Remnant says very clearly, to take part in these things is sin, and the results will be very detrimental. We've studied about clean and unclean foods and what the Bible says about them. And we saw that there is clear instruction in Scripture that if you are going to eat flesh foods, that creature must have a cloven foot and chew a cud. If it does not, he says, you don't eat it. Leave it alone. It's an abomination. So you look at the land animals, you have that instruction. We also saw that he even dealt with the things in the water. And the creatures that live in the water must also have two things. They must have fins and scales. If they don't, they also are an abomination. And he says, you should not eat those things. So he's got the land, he's got the water, and then he even took care of the things that were in the sky. The things that are in the sky, the birds. He gave us certain instructions on the various creatures that fly or have wings that we should not eat. And he said, among them, they will be such things as the eagle, the vulture, and the buzzard. And I don't think one of us here have ever had a great craving for a buzzard burger. But if you read in there, he tells you which ones you can and cannot eat. And I don't understand all the reasonings behind them, because if I were to list them, to me, one of the dirtiest birds that there is a chicken. But it's a clean animal. So I don't have to understand why, but medical science reveals a lot of these reasons. All we have to do is to follow God because he says so. And so all of those instructions are there for us. God has assured us that he will not hold any good thing back from us. If God says don't eat it, don't drink it, don't take part in it, it's because he says it's not good for you. It's that simple. We don't have to question why, except to believe that God who made us knows what's good and what's bad. And if we follow his instructions, we are safe. Within that realm, though, even for many who eat only the clean foods, they forget God also gave commandment that you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is the blood. So you've got to get all of the blood out of a piece of meat if you're going to eat it. You know, most of you probably been in restaurants like I have, where the man's got more blood floating in his plate than I got liquids in my glass. But yet we eat the blood, we eat the fat, which God also said was a perpetual statute, that you eat neither blood nor fat. You know, that's where the meat gets its flavor from. You get rid of the blood and the fat, the stuff is pretty flavorous, leather-like substances. But yet we ignore this instruction that God has given. The stores will trim off some fat, but there's always fat there. They do not take the blood out of it, because if they do, you'll quit buying the stuff because it will taste pretty nasty. Now, as we concluded last time, we saw that there are 5 white dangers. And these dangers I want to spend a little time on this morning. The first is fat, dairy, salt, sugar, and bleached flour. These things are harmful to the human body, and we must understand this concept. And one of these I want us to look at is salt, because I know people who put salt on everything. It's going to kill them. They say, oh, well, I've been doing this all my life. Good. Go ahead, keep doing it, and all your life will get a whole lot shorter each time you do it. Salt is in everything you get, just about. And this shows you that even in a piece of apple pie, there's 500 milligrams of it. And as you look down through here, Wheaties, 1,850 milligrams. And if you get some Kentucky Fried Chicken, you got 5,600 milligrams of salt in that stuff. And so salt is in just about anything. You go to a grocery store and you buy a can of vegetables, and they will have salt and sugar both in it. Now, why put salt and sugar both in something? Boy, those two together will really drive your taste buds wild. And so you got two opposites, and it excites the taste bud. But salt is in everything, and don't salt your food unless you know it's the most bland stuff that there is, because it's already got it. At least taste it before you salt it, and you will tend to live longer. Also, sugar content. This is an amazing thing. One soft drink, somewhere between 8 and 12 teaspoons of sugar. 8 to 12, because they vary in the sugar content, but can you imagine sitting down, taking 12 ounces of water, putting 12 teaspoons of sugar in it, stirring it up, and drinking it? And then add with that the caffeine that's in most of those soft drinks, and you can see why you want to holler, Yahoo Mountain Dew. This is stuff that we don't often think about. You just take a donut, has 6 teaspoons of sugar in it. Grape juice, the commercial, the sweetened stuff, has 7 and 20 in the hard candy. So if you look through these, you can find that there's sugar in almost everything, including canned corn, canned green beans, and any canned food that you buy at the store. The sugar is there, that other white danger that we need to be prepared to understand that it's harmful to us. As a result, diabetes in this nation has soared 900% since 1950. And the graph here kind of shows you how it's gone up in the various age groups. 900%, because we're eating more and more refined foods and foods that have the sugar added to it. And so there is a diet that helps prevent from getting diabetes and a lot of these other diseases. And here there's just a little list of one. The Western daily diet is usually 35 to 40% calories. To prevent some of these diseases, you need to bring it down to 15 to 20% of your calories from fats and oils. The sugar in a day, most Americans are taking in 35 teaspoons. That needs to be brought down to a minimum. Cholesterol, 500 milligrams a day for the average person. it should be brought down to at least 50 milligrams. Salt, we take 15 to 20 grams. It should be brought down to 5. Or you see about a fourth of these on some of these. And then fiber, the American diet gives you about 10 grams, and you should have at least 5 times that. And so this diet, if you go with the preventative diet, your health will improve in itself here. But let's say you've already got some of these problems, and you want to try and undo what was done. Remember, the Scripture says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so, and this other diet that I'm going to share with you, the reversal diet, is good to go on even if you don't have any indications of these diseases. And the reversal diet, it says, bring that 15 to 20 from the preventative to half that, to about 10% or less of the calories from fats and oil. By the way, if you're going to use oils, the best one to use is what? Can somebody tell me? Olive oil. Olive oil is the best one. Sugar, it's got to stay at a minimal. Cholesterol, 50 milligrams. By the way, do you know the only place you're going to get cholesterol, except what your body produces itself, is from animal products? So eliminate dairy and animal products and bring that down to 0 milligrams of cholesterol. The 5 grams of salt can stay the same. We do have to have salt, by the way. And a lot of people have told me that, oh, well, we have to have salt. Yes, you do. 5 grams of that would be sufficient. But if you're doing 10 times that or so, then it's going to harm you. And the fiber needs to stay at least 40 to 50 grams. And that reversal diet will help bring your body, that fearful and wonderful machine that God has created, back into a better condition. We are told, my friends, that we should eat that which is good. And that which is good is what God gave to us when He originally created us. So what is good? Well, when we look back at the original diet that God gave to man, He said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat or for food. So the original diet was a vegetarian, fruits and vegetables. Now, many Seventh-day Adventists, I almost said most, but that would have been a misstatement. Many Seventh-day Adventists are vegetarians. And that's why this health study that we were talking about in the beginning, that was done back from 76 to 88, showed that Seventh-day Adventists live approximately 10 years longer than any other group of people in the whole state of California. Now, there is a new one of these studies going on now, and I'm waiting to see with interest what the results are going to be. But mainly this difference in the longevity of Seventh-day Adventists as compared to other people is based upon Adventists usually have some form of regular exercise. They have a plant-based diet. Many of them are vegetarians, and even those that aren't still eat fruits and vegetables. Eating of small amounts of nuts regularly, and maintaining normal body weight. These are all things that are essential, and then on top of that is there's no smoking and also no alcohol. So this adds about 10 years of life to us as a people. In the study that they did in California on fatal heart disease with the Californians as compared to Seventh-day Adventist males, as they get older, it peaks up on us a lot. But then it kind of tends to go back down and then comes back up again as we get older again. The women, they still have us beat, guys. But look at that as compared to the people in California, straight across the board. The same with cancer comparisons. As you look at the comparisons, you'll see that Seventh-day Adventists have far less instances of cancer. Californians have much more cancer, and a lot of it, the majority of it, is based upon lifestyle. And so as we look at some of these things, we got to understand that what we eat does play a large part in how we live. Now, life expectancy. The life expectancy of California males is 73.9 years. That for Seventh-day Adventists is 81.2. But Seventh-day Adventist vegetarians, 83.3 for the males. The women, 79.5 if you are just a Californian. If you are a Seventh-day Adventist, 83.9. And females that are vegetarians, 85.7. This is what the study revealed. So nearly 10 years difference here. Also, meat in this research that they did is shown to cause cancer, particularly colon cancer here. If you've never eaten meat, or if you never eat meat, this is what your relatively risk is. But if you eat meat less than once a week or less, then it increases that much. And if you eat it more than once a week, your chance of colon cancer increases almost 50%. Red meat and colon cancer, they even broke that down for you. If you never eat it, your risk is there. If you eat it less than once a week, it's there. And if you eat it one or more times a week, the increase is there for colon cancer in red meat. Also in white meat, they broke it down that way, and you'll see a significant difference here. Those who never eat white meat, such as pork or so forth, if you eat it once a week, but if you eat it more than once a week, look at the increase. Almost 2/3 more colon cancer from eating white meat. Meat increases the risk of heart disease as well. As they did these studies, they saw that beef, as compared with the rate of fatal coronary heart disease, for those males who never eat it, for those who eat it less than 3 times a week, and those who eat it more than 3 times a week. You see the increase again of how it's more than half. Again in the females, and then after 3 weeks or less. As we move to the next segment here, fish and coronary heart disease. If you never eat fish, you're down there. If you eat it less than once a week, and if you eat it 1 or more times a week, it just progresses. And again, you can see here over twice as much of a risk of a disease. Now, this is what's amazing. This is why I caught myself a while ago. I started to say most Seventh-day Adventists. No. Do you see that this is the report that they're doing now, what they're working on, and as the results have been coming in from Seventh-day Adventists, we find that 50% of Seventh-day Adventist males and females nearly are eating meat more than once a week. Over here, about 42, 43% never eat it. So more eat it, and then those who eat it less than once a week are in this realm here, 7 or 8%. So these two and this one here. Now, if we are living on a general consensus 10 years longer, when they compare the carnivorous people such as I was when that first one was done, and begin to compare these with what is going on today, if all of this group were over in this group and bring these little guys with them, what do you think that difference might be today? I think it would be significantly more than 10 years, because these would be going back to the original diet that God had designed to begin with. And so we see that all of these things are taking place today, and I want us to notice something very important. Just a few little things. If any of you are in the medical field, you'll recognize that as an artery. That's a good one. No cholesterol, a nice, clean artery. There's a little close-up of one, and that's a pretty good shape artery too. These are people who are not using any cholesterol as such. This top one up here, this top one comes from a 34-year-old woman who was on a low-fat diet. Low fat. And see that the buildup is? This one is from a 32-year-old woman who was on a high-fat diet. Can you see the difference in what happens to the arteries from the fat and the cholesterol, from the foods they eat or the things that they put into their body? Because even cigarette smoking increases cholesterol. And not only does it increase cholesterol, it causes the blood vessels and arteries to shrink, thus inhibiting the flow of blood even more. And so this artery problem that we have is we just overlook it a lot. Now here's a person's artery that, of course, their cholesterol and so forth caught up with them, and they ended up with arterial sclerosis, with a heavy deposit of cholesterol and some hardening and calcification that took place in their arteries. You use a lot of flesh foods, a lot of dairy products, chances are very good this is what yours are going to look like. And when they start to look like that, whether next week, next year, or 20 years from now, you will die. It will kill you. And so as we look at these things, the coronary arteries, this is a coronary artery, an artery to the heart. You can see all the deposits and the cholesterol that's built up. This right here, that's a blood clot. That's what killed him. You see the cholesterol and the things build up, the plaque build up in the arteries. Then a blood clot forms, and it's already so narrow that the blood clot now will plug it up, and you'll have either a stroke or a heart attack. And the only way that you're going to build those things up is to put animal products in your body. This is somebody who tried to think they would take the better way. I can eat what I want, let them build up, and so what he has now is a patchwork of nylon. That's an artificial artery, a nylon artery, to try and save his life. And by the way, because you're looking at this, you should realize it didn't work. Because if you got a spot like this in one place, you've got a spot like this other places too. And they can't give you nylon arteries and blood vessels throughout your whole body. So this is what happens when we move away from God's original plan for us. You see, what happened in this one, this coronary artery with the thickened walls, the narrow opening and the blood clot just stopped the blood flow. The nylon graft was put in. Let's take a look at a brain. You know, that's a normal brain. But when they begin to get cholesterol, and here's cholesterol buildup in some of the arteries of the brain, and it begins to plug them up, and guess what happens when blood doesn't get to the brain? Chances are good you're going to end up being a vegetable. Wouldn't you rather eat a vegetable than become one? Yes. It's these things that are killing people in the world today. Coronary arteries, again, with a thickened wall. This is one right on the heart. They've kind of pinned it back again, so you can get a real good close-up of this. The blood clot there in the center, the thrombus is what stopped the blood flow, and they ended up with what the doctors call arteriosclerotic coronary thrombosis. And it'll kill you, just as it did this poor soul here. You see, that blood clot in that narrow artery just stopped anything from flowing to the heart. This is a heart. This white or lighter stuff, this person had a heart attack. This is showing you a damaged heart muscle. The lighter shade is the myocardial infarction. And whenever it heals, if you have a heart attack, if it heals, it'll leave these white scars. If it doesn't, it leaves you dead. And it again is from the things that people put into their bodies. So quickly now today, I want to go through a few things that can be helpful. We already know that we should leave alone all tobacco products. We should leave alone all alcohol. We should leave alone all of those things that we know are harmful. We should leave alone all flesh food, not just the clean flesh food or unclean ones. But let's take a look at something here, what fruits and vegetables and how they reduce cancer risk. For those who eat fruit, look at the statistics with lung cancer. If you eat it less than 3 times a week, this is your chances of having lung cancer. If you eat it less than once a day, look where it goes to. Just some fruit. Preferably not the fruit cocktail that we saw up there that has all that sugar in it. And then if you eat it more than once a day, friends, it drops even more. But you should be eating fruit regularly, and you'll come from there clear down to here as far as lung cancer. Again, heart disease with nuts. If you eat nuts less than once a week, a male, your chance of coronary heart disease is way up there. If you eat it 1 to 4 times a week, it drops some. But if you eat just a handful, and it doesn't matter what kind of nuts, any kind of nuts, 1 handful a day, and watch what it does. It drops it to more than half in men. In women, notice the difference here. Immediately in women, just in that 1 to 4 times a week, nuts are good for you. Now, not too much. We're talking about a handful of nuts. And peanuts, which are one of my favorites, are not necessarily the best. The best one is what? Almonds. That's your best one. But there are so many different kinds of nuts to choose from. Just 1 handful a day, and it will make you a whole lot healthier. Legumes or beans and the risk of colon cancer. If you eat beans or legumes less than once a week, that's your chance of colon cancer, about as high as you can get. 1 or 2 times a week, and it drops. But if you eat them more than twice a week, it drops even more. Eat beans and peas, legumes. They're good for you. They are very good for you. Again, as you look at prostate cancer, if you eat it less than once a week, 1 or 2 a week, and look where it goes if you eat them more than twice a week. Guys, this stuff will be helpful. Do you know that men are really, a lot of men are dying today from prostate cancer? And there are several things that can help them in this area. Again, tomatoes. Tomatoes, now, tomatoes can help prevent prostate cancer. I love tomatoes. They're not the best for you if you have arthritis. The nightshades, the vegetables that grow at night, can cause some inflammation and arthritis, but it will lower the risk of prostate cancer. Notice this. Eat it less than once a week, 1 to 4 times a week, and look where you're at, almost half. And you eat them more than 4 times a week. Eat tomatoes. You see, what you're eating when you eat these things are things that God made, and the best way to do them is the way that God made them. Okay, they will help you. Soy milk. Now, some people like soy milk. I can drink soy milk, but it's not my favorite beverage. You see, soy milk, to me, I drink a lot of it because it's a good medicine. Somebody told me today, oh, you shouldn't call it medicine. Happiness is a medicine, isn't it? Doesn't the Bible say, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine? Medicines don't have to have a bad connotation. Use God's medicines. And soy milk, even if you don't like the taste of it, notice what it'll do for you with the rate of prostate cancer. If you never drink it, there you are. If you drink it less than once a day, but watch what happens. Once a day, and then if you drink it more than once a day, notice what your risk of prostate cancer. This study just blew my mind. Just drinking soy milk is a good medicine for you guys. And so even if you don't like it, don't complain about it. You don't have to like medicine. Drink it. It's good for you. Also, bread. Notice something here. White bread and your risk of coronary heart disease is high. But if you used a mixed, some whole grains in with it, you see it cuts it in half. And if it is all whole grain, it's even a little better. So bread, eat bread. Don't eat too much of it. Bread likes to hang on to you. And especially this stuff. I mean, when you can take a piece of bread and squeeze it in your hand and make a dough ball out of it, you don't want to put it in your body. You want some bread that's got some substance to it. Also water. 5 or more glasses of water a day, my friends, will help lower heart disease risk. Drink a lot of water. Remember, most of the planet is water, and most of your body is water. And put into your body what your body is made of. And it will help you substantially. And don't say, oh, I don't like the taste of water. I happen to like water. Now, there's some nasty tasting water out there. I've had some of that too. I grew up where all water on the farm was nasty, and it was red, and it had rust and iron and frogs and snails and everything. You never knew what you were going to draw up out of that well when I was a kid. But you drank the water anyway. Today, I wish we didn't have to worry about anything but some frogs and snakes in the water. But all of the chemicals and all of the sewage and all the stuff they pump into the water today, I mean, how many of you, when you were a youngster, would ever have thought you'd be spending money for water? I went with a friend to one of them water depots when we were getting water for a school some years back, and this place was actually like a gas station. We pulled up under there. We had the water bottles in the back of his truck. There was a pump that looked like a gas pump out there, and he put the pump nozzle into the jugs and was filling these big 5-gallon jugs up. And he said if my father was alive, he'd think I was crazy to be pulling into a station to buy water like we used to buy gas. But drink water and get some good water. If you don't have good water where you live, put a filtration system. It's much cheaper than going to the store and buying all that water. Filtration systems, and there's several different ones out there, will make your water good. And the kind that I would recommend is reverse osmosis. So when we look at these things, we need to stop and think that God created us in His image. And then He came back and He died for us that He may recreate that image in us and to restore us to the perfection that He originally made us in. Now, we're never on this planet going to get our bodies back to what it was in the Garden of Eden. But we can sure stop this degeneration of our bodies to the degree that we're increasing it by the foods and things we put into our bodies. And so I leave you with this thought today that was our scripture reading this morning. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Think on these things. Ask God to help you to keep ever before your mind that whatsoever you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God.